Hi everyone, welcome to the second Ableton video in our KXC MD training series, and this one is going to be entitled Preparing the Session. And we're going to look at how to prepare the session in order to get ready for a Sunday. So say you've been given the set list from whoever's leading worship. I've just obviously quite a short one, Light of Peace, Fighting Back and King My Heart, and there's some keys as well. Let's talk about preparing this ready for a Sunday rehearsal. So open up Ableton first and you'll be presented with the screen that is about to pop up. Here it is. Firstly, we're going to just go through bringing stuff in again, but I'm going to do it a lot quicker than the previous video. Okay, so we just need these audio files. We can get rid of the reverb and the delay. Let's make the master channel a little bit bigger. Okay, and let's start by just writing in our set. So Light of Peace first, wasn't it? Light of Peace in F. Brilliant. And I'm also going to just highlight all these, right click, color code. Now let's go looking for some tracks. So if you've downloaded the tracks and you're going to bring them into your own session, here is something I've downloaded earlier. Drag them in. Remember to drag them into the audio channel, not the MIDI channel. And that's great. Now, something I didn't do before I dragged them in was go into preferences and just make sure that auto warp long samples was off, but it was off, so that's okay. I got away with it. Okay, now let's enter some more information into the Light of Peace channel. Firstly, the tempo, which is 80 BPM. Also, it is in 4/4. And finally, I also just put the key at the end as well. It's just something I always do. I know it's already written in, but I just like to make sure I've got the key because that's kind of like the most important thing. Just a little note: when you drag files like these files that I dragged into Ableton, it creates a whole load of new files, which are the kind of like Ableton sample analysis files. So don't be worried about those popping up as well. I need to warp these. Now, before you warp, remember you need the tempo of the session to be in the correct tempo. Currently this is 120, but we need it to be in 80. So just launch the file. If I launch these now,
intro 2,
that's great. 3. And also, when I turn, do you remember this button is the Ableton built-in click? When I turn that on,
intro 2,
I hear the kind
3,
of both clicks,
4.
my click and the Ableton. Here's my click on its own. There we go. And then both. Okay, hopefully you can hear that. Now I can select all of my audio files, and I need to double click on here, select them all and warp them. And remember, our warping type is complex. So let's bring in our fighting back tracks now. I'm going to put the tempo in straight away. So this is 84 BPM. 84 BPM. It's 4/4, and again we're in E major. So I'm just going to write that down. And now I can drag in these individuals. Now these ones aren't numbered. They should be, but if they're not, then we can just do this manually. So click goes in there. Use percussion. Now there should be a little gap. I'm going to insert new audio, which is Apple T. Here's my DVs, drag that in. Guitars. Sometimes this setup does take a little bit of time. Synths, lead piano, and again lead guitar. I don't know what channel that is, so let's do lead guitar. And finally bass. Definitely not these, but indeed last. Okay, great. So that's all in, and remember, let's launch it to make sure tempo's in the right tempo. So 84, 84. Now let's select all of the tracks, warp them, and make sure they're set onto complex. And do you remember as well, for BVs, any vocals, we actually don't want to set that to complex, we want to set it to complex pro. King My Heart track, I don't have any tracks for this, but if I launch this at the moment, nothing happens. That's because there's no content in any of these slots. So remember, just double click in the MIDI column, and now it will at least launch the click, which is what I want. And also King of My Heart, I'm just going to color code this in an orange just to distinguish it from the two that have got tracks. The most important thing, and if you remember one thing from this video, is we need to go into preferences. And this will be once you've plugged in your interface, you need to select the interface here. So on the side panel here, we go to audio, and we want to select the interface. Now the interface that I've plugged in is this one here, and it's got 4 outs. And you're not quite done yet, because you also need to click on output configuration, and this selects what you want those 4 outputs to do. So we could have just 2 stereo pairs, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, but I want 1 and 2 to be a stereo out, and I want 3 and 4 actually to be a mono out. Okay, so I can give separate things to channels 3 and 4. That's good. And now we've got to do the important thing of assigning what we want each bit of this track to go to. So for example, click, I want click to go to one specific channel, which is channel 3. And this will change depending on what venue you're in. So I'm currently in the Ethiopian church, and I want to make sure, at the Ethiopian church we have tracks in 1 and 2 at the moment, and clicks in 3, cues in 4. That may well change, and it certainly is different at St Saviour's, and it will be different at King's House. It will depend on what venue you're in. So click is going to go in 3, then I select so when I'm doing these, I'm selecting the whole column by clicking at the top. Cues are going into 4, and then all the rest of them I'm going to put in 1 and 2. But you might, for some venues, you might put percussion in 3 and 4. You might put BVs in 5 and 6. For the rest of them, I'm going to put them all into 1 and 2. So external out, 1 and 2. Now, there's another way of doing this, because there's a bus called the master bus, and I can actually, again, select all of these and send them to what I'm going to call the master out, and then come over to the master channel and say which channel master out is. So I can do it like this. So I'm saying that master out is 1 and 2. And then also on this channel, you'll notice the cue out. Now, this is this Ableton's built-in click, which is signaled by this yellow button. This is where the Ableton built-in click goes to. I want it to go to the same channel as my own clicks, okay? So remember, my own clicks is my kind of audio file of a click. I want that to go to channel 3, and I also want the Ableton click to go to 3. Now I think we're ready to go. So let me launch this. Before, remember, it was coming out the computer speakers, but now it should be going through the system and we should hear something.
Intro, 2, 3, 4.
This is all ready to go. But I also want to show you a little bit of a different way of doing this. So I'm going to open up this KXC master file, which is a file that's available to you on the Dropbox folder. So let's click this. I don't want to save what I've done. Now this is a whole kind of library of tracks that I've already prepared and I'm kind of adding to all the time, and will always be updated. And I've got this kind of active set, pull set and kids set up here. And what I can do, instead of like dragging these in manually, is you can just kind of choose them from the library and copy them into your set. I would advise, don't drag them, copy them. So what did we start with? It was Light of Peace, which is this one. So copy it and then come up to your active set. There it is, okay? And the same with Fighting Back. And let's also do King of My Heart, okay? So if it's there, then great. Sometimes it won't be there, you have to create it yourself. The pull set I kind of use for any spares that I know might come up, and the kids set obviously for any kids songs that we're doing. And so you'll see this is all categorized, it's nicely color coded, everything should be in order. Imagine we wanted to change the key of Fighting Back. I'll just edit this, so say I want to just take it into F instead. I would just change these little notes. This actually doesn't matter, but it's good, I'd say, good practice to make sure that everything's correctly labeled, okay? And now that I've done that, I need to remember to transpose the actual files as I did in the last video. So I'll select all the kind of melodic ones. Remember, we don't need to transpose percussion or cues or click because they don't have a key. And now I've selected all those channels, and I'm just going to come here and transpose it up 1. And now, here they are. And that should be, that's now an F, that should be the same key as this, Light of Peace. That sounds good to me, in the same key. That's probably a much quicker way of preparing the set, but what have I not done? Remember, you've got to choose your output correctly, make sure you get your output selected, and then come to the click channel and make sure it's selected as 3, and come to the cues channel, make sure that's selected as 4. This is already good to go because it was saved for the Ethiopian church, but always make sure that you're sending stuff to the correct channels. And that's it. Thanks very much.